Thanks for tuning in. This is my Isle of Wight 100k Randonnee experience. We circumnavigate the island of the Isle of Wight, which is off the south coast of the UK. Here I am pumping up in the morning, single-handed pumping while filming. Great strength and power. In fact, I thought, oh, this is going to be hard work trying to film and pump, but it was actually really easy. So I got all my bike all sorted in the morning. I've got tubeless tyres on there, and I will do a bike check later on in the video. A few bits of traffic which surprised me, but what is it? It's Bank Holiday Sunday, and it's 10 to 8, so there's a few people around and about. It's about 11k to get to the start for me, because I'm camping on the south side of the Isle of Wight. It's important. We've got multiple start points for the 100k Randonnee around the Isle of Wight, but I've got friends starting on the north side near Wootton, so I'm going to go there to start. So a quick map check time, and you can see here the Isle of Wight is off the south coast of the UK. I live down here south of London, so I drove down to Portsmouth, where there's a ferry, and then I took the ferry from here, the White Link ferry, which is quite expensive on a bank holiday weekend, which this landed on in May, headed over to Fishbourne, which is actually very close to the starting point, but what they did with this Randonnee is they allow you to start at anywhere you like. So there's like an eBrevit app for your phone, and you can start in, I think, one of 5 different places around the island, which are all checkpoints as well. So you don't need to start right at the top of the island there. And this is where I was camped out in my camper van down in near Newchurch. And it's a fun little ride in the morning up over a small down, which was actually great fun because it was fun being on my own for a moment before joining the larger crowds of cyclists, where there was about 3,000, I think, total riders this year. On this Kite Hill farm, which is that A point there where we started, registered, picked up my enamel badge for the year's event, and then we headed out with a group from my local cycle club. There's about 5 of us. There was actually a 50k ride as well as this 100k, and a couple of the riders in the group that we were with stuck with the 50k, so they sort of turned back north. Shortly after you sort of end up around the southern region past this airport near Sandown, I think you head up north through the centre of the island on a kind of a gravel path if you do the 50k. When you start heading back over towards the west here and dropping south, you get down to this area called Ventnor, where it's a town called Ventnor on the front of the coast there with the English Channel in view. Really attractive, nice place because you get some beautiful views from the downs here. You've got Ventnor and a couple of the higher points on the island there. St Boniface or Bonface, don't know which one it is. But you kind of cut through a town here and then ended up very high up, dropping down and along that coastal area. It was a bit dull and cloudy, but the atmosphere was nice. And this is a little stop point here where we stopped, and there was some entertainment, food, and just an all-round general inspiring spot where people were having some fun as before we headed out towards the west. Then we headed a lot further sort of westerly and a little bit north as well at the same time, back up towards Freshwater Bay. And some of the most beautiful spots there, some really nice sort of flat sections where we were speeding along with views of the sea and the English Channel, and then finally into Freshwater was another stopping point. Heading back east and around about 80k before we got to Cowes, my Wahoo ran out of juice, and that's because I hadn't charged it properly, and I sort of had to then make my best way around. But actually there's lots of signposts, and with all the other riders, 3,000 on the day, there's always going to be someone nearby. That took me into Cowes before we took the ferry over to the other side of East Cowes to make that final stretch back towards Wootton and Kite Farm again. So here I am heading north in the morning again. Lovely, cool kind of weather, slightly humid though, interestingly, and obviously the threat of rain, which did hit later on a couple of times, but overall it didn't dampen the spirits of the day really, and it's a nice little speedy route down where I could see ahead the down that I was going to have to climb to get to the start, which was a little tiny entertaining hill on the way there. And this is the garlic farm, just before I climb the hill and over. Famous little spot for people to visit, where they do wondrous things with garlics in chutneys and various sauces. Plus also they've got a nice restaurant there where they make garlic inspired food. Obviously not just using garlic as a kind of a flavouring, but it's actually the main event. Interesting language thing about the Isle of Wight is they call these roads chutes when they're like a steep road that cuts through the chalk heading down. So they've obviously been there for centuries. Maybe they were originally streams or something that had worn down through the chalk. And I know they also have a word called a chine. I think that's another word for a kind of a stream that's cut through the chalk down to the sea. So these chutes tend to be relatively short, sharp climbs, and this one was one of those. And but it was stunning to get to the top over the down there and get those initial views of the grasslands around. This was going to be a party pace style ride for me today with my friends from the club. Some of them beginners, and they'd never cycled as far as 100k before, so it was going to be a ride where we all kind of stuck together. What happened later is I'd completely underestimated how long that takes when you're going at 15 kilometres per hour through the day, with lots of stops for everyone. Stops on hills, stops for sightseeing, photos, and longer than normal sort of breaks to sit down and have food. So it took a bit longer than expected, and that meant I had to sort of dash off later. So I mentioned that when I had to sort of suddenly cycle hard towards the end, because I realised, oops, something that I thought would normally take me 5.5 hours of riding is turned into nearly 10 towards the end with the length of time we were hanging around. So that's fine by me, because I like doing the party pace riding, sort of sticking with friends and chatting and making a social event of it, and making sure no one gets left behind. But my ferry, I had to get back on the ferry, and because it's bank holiday weekend, the Wight ferry link was really expensive for me, because of course I came over with a van to camp in, so I had specific requirements that if you come over on the normal foot ferry with a bike, you're fine, it's not going to cost you too much. But I'd locked in this particular time, and it was very expensive to shift it to the next day, so I ended up in a massive panic at the end. My Wahoo failed me because I was out of battery, and I'd had to dash off. So this is the start at Kite Hill Farm, getting busy around about 8:30, and in fact, even though it said starting at 9, lots of people were shooting off at 8:30, 8:15 even, as I was originally arriving. Very easy to get registered, plenty of snacks to start with to load up on. So starting out, it was nice and dry. There was kind of a warmish feeling, probably about 13 degrees. I don't think it ever went over about 14 during the day. But lots of sights to see if you've never been to the Isle of Wight. Yes, there's some fantastic scenery to see all over the island, and a completely different feel to some of it as well. Some of the interior has a lot of sort of not boggy, sort of swampy sort of, well, there's no such thing as swamp on the Isle of Wight, but there's that kind of boggy river area, which was fenland, I suppose, is the nearest thing to describe it. And then right up onto the downs, when you're climbing up, you get some great views of English Channel as well. So really varied routes. So the whole the whole gamut of kind of British terrain on one small island, which is fantastic to cycle around, because it's just got that nice countryside feel. It's a bit more laid back, not too heavy on the traffic. certainly lots of nice places to visit. I've been here in the summer and brought the kids. Also been here in the summer when I was a youngster. My dad was a teacher, so we had sort of summer holidays where we'd take breaks over here, and it was a great place to visit as a kid as well. Lots of activities to do. The only thing I might say is that this time of year, May, when it's off season, you may get a really nice day, you may get a bit of rain like this. But if you're here in the summer, you're going to face more traffic, more caravans, more holiday makers, and it can feel a little bit crowded. So I probably want to do it, actually. I want to come over here in the sunnier season, maybe in June, July one year, to sort of get a feel for cycling around then. So probably around 35, 40k in, we got this rainy weather, which made for fun. In fact, it didn't get too cold though, being sort of early May. In the south here, you found that it was quite mild, but the rain did pile in on us for a good hour and a half. And these lanes and trails, which some of them were a bit muddy, you had some water streaming over, so you ended up with quite muddy bikes and puddles to ride through in the end, but really entertaining though. High hedgerows in many places, which is very similar to Sussex, where I'm from, and sometimes that can be fun. Other times you can feel like you're in a green corridor and you've got nowhere to see. You get the tiny glimpses across fields, but definitely Isle of Wight has that varied terrain, so you can find yourself in these nice sort of leafy green hedgerow tunnels, and then the next minute you're out in the open, or you're up on a down with a great view. So it's nice to have that varied terrain to deal with. Yeah, we need some more music, thank you. Oh, good stuff. So some fantastic people on the ride. Of course, lots of people to meet. I met a chap called Stuart before I'd even started, and we were chatting, talking about his rides on there and how he'd recently done a ride in Wales and found it really hard work. I was also with my group of friends from the local social ride club in Crawley and Horsham in Sussex, so it was great to be with them and having to catch up and have chats and food breaks and just general all-round entertainment. Plus there was a fantastic person which you just saw there, which had her stereo blasting out, which was fun to hear as well, going by to see the people sort of entertaining themselves, and that it was a kind of family event, so it wasn't just all serious riders. There were a lot of mixed ability out there, which again makes for a fun day really. So the rain didn't dampen our spirits really, and it rained twice during the day really, once this earlier on, and then I completely dried out. It's a fantastic thing about reasonable quality cycling gear is that it does just dry off as you're going around. And that's one of those things, isn't it, that you often find that you're moaned at for wearing lycra. That mammal riding around with your cycling lycra on, and why are you wearing that gear? You look stupid. And of course, 2 hours into a ride where you've got completely drenched by the rain, and I was completely dry again, and thinking, okay, I can take the rain again now. So fantastic to have materials that wick away the moisture and just means you're more comfortable rather than feeling absolutely drenched through. So big +1 really for the good cycle gear.
Oh, you're okay, you're okay.
So there's a definite safety in numbers when you're on these narrow lanes, of course. You come to a nice curving section which could be a blind corner to you on when you're out on a solo ride or with just a small group, but if you're in a large group like this you can sort of keep speeding on because you've got a kind of assumption that ahead of you people are making safer decisions. We are heading towards the second of the checkpoints, which had a lot of entertainment and music playing as well, which was a great fun. I've got a clip of that coming up. Just wanted to say that if anybody's read Ian Banks, the sci-fi novelist, he once famously said that if you wanted to spot aliens, check out solar eclipses or major interesting events, and instead of looking at the event, look around you. Don't look at the solar eclipse, look around you, and you'll see unusual people dotted around. Could be alien visitors come to see the solar eclipse. So coming up next is a little clip of these people playing their music and dancing. So there was nothing to lift the spirits more than a bit of Hawaiian dancing, and well, I call it Hawaiian. Could it be Isle of Wightian dancing? Same tropical feel with a nice drum going there as with a beat, which kept everybody happy. Of course, it was a little bit damp at that time, still kind of misty with that low-hanging cloud, and made it really high-spirited for us to listen to some music. It was so nice of them to be there, and everybody was entertained, so that was fantastic. So this was a fun section. The gravel section of the 100k route, they did have a road, but this was a different interlude you could take, so I downloaded this map, which allowed us to have a different view, bit of landscape, bit of wildlife and birds there, so it made for a different section. And we're all good on our bikes along here because we were going at a kind of party pace. So it's just at this point now, about 80k in, that my sat-nav died, my Wahoo ran out of battery. It was at about 60% in the morning, even though I'd done a full charge the day before. I don't know what I was playing at. Should have double checked in the morning or early on to check that it needed a charge, but it got about 9.5 hours into the day. So I found myself suddenly desperately in need to get back to the campsite in time to catch the ferry, which was booked in, much more expensive. Didn't book the one that gave me a cancel option, move option, trying to keep it cheap, but it was still expensive to get the van over. So sped off at this point. It was about 20k from Cowes. Finally got into Cowes here with all the cyclists that go over on the ferry. Saw a couple of guys on that ferry that I was on that ferry with the year before, and I wanted to say hello, but I was so sure I remembered them from the year before. But there you go, interesting to see that you should bump into the same folks again. And then as I headed back to the campsite on the south side, I finally took some footage just as I was coming in here. Great little campsite, and yeah, it feels like an old one. It's like the land that time forgot. A quaint little food shop on the side, and the people were really friendly in there too. Really nice, smart place to feel safe in, parked up and ready to cycle in the morning. So I'll certainly use this campsite again next time I'm over. Look how muddy it was at the end of the day, even with the mud guard. Look at that rear wheel, it's totally caked in the mud. And yeah, it was a good experience on the bike though. It's a Linsky Sportive titanium frame. I've got a kind of Frankenstein setup with a Genesis carbon fork in the front. And the group set is GRX 12-speed 2x. And the only reason for that is I had a 1x on my gravel bike. Loved the gearing so much, I thought why not go for the same 2x on the road bike. It's been working great for me, so just happy to do it. And there's a quick shot on the ferry on the way back over to Portsmouth. Sun was going down, really nice day. And one of the snaps earlier on from up on a cliff there. And thanks for getting this far if you got all the way through. Cheers, thanks, bye.